Good morning, Rainbow Guard. How are you? It's Paul, your Rainbow Leader, and I wish you a happy new week in January. 24th, 24th, I believe, and we're having a beautiful day here in Florida. I love this weather now. It's probably the one time that you can actually breathe and the air is not so heavy that you have to kind of force it down your lungs to try to get it to get through the rest of your respiratory system. But no, it's really pretty out there now. It's a beautiful day, and I'm hoping that it stays that way this week. And I am still hurting from a landscape job that I did earlier in the week. And had a tussle with a couple of landscape boulders, and my ribs and my left shoulder blade didn't turn out too good. The job looks nice, but I didn't do that well. So I'm going to be a little more sedentary these next few days, and it's a good chance because I get to load a video up to you guys. I really I got a shock, like we all probably did, at least in the U.S., for finding out that the floaty, puffed up video views that we had were considerable. When I came back in the afternoon to look at how I do, because I always check that out, kind of most every afternoon around 3, 4 o'clock, and I noticed, whoa, good, your subscriptions were up a little bit. And for me, a little bit, it was about 10 people, and I appreciate that. To each and every one of you, thank you for subscribing to me. Hope I'll make your subscription worthwhile, and you'll enjoy yourself. But there was a nasty minus sign and numbers in red after it to the tune of like 76,000 plus. I said, no. I'm sure that it couldn't have been for me, because that must be a mistake. If they were doing an adjustment at YouTube, it certainly would have had to have been for a person who had a lot of tenure on doing their show and their channel. I've only been uploading videos for a little over 3 months, so it couldn't be me, to the tune of 76,000 plus anyway. So I read a little bit more about it, and then I found out that yes, they knew that indeed there was a big problem. And I guess last night I took a look on Social Blade, and there was a lot of minus signs. There was probably more blood at YouTube headquarters than they had seen lovely green shamrocks walk in a field of them yesterday. No, I think it was a little bloody and it was yucky at California headquarters. So I shared in that, and I really was. I fell hard when I got that news, because I'm new at this, and I only have 3 months worth of uploaded videos, and numbers were good for me, but they're not so good now, so I have to work extra hard to kind of get back to where I was. But at any rate, yeah, I'm okay now. I put on a new hat today, and I feel a little bit better. I know that it was nothing, number one, it was nothing personal, it was nothing that I did that was wrong, it was just unmasked the system. But isn't it interesting that the banks have problems with their security and social media groups, something that you wouldn't really particularly think would be an issue. There's not too much to do but to count, who's getting views and who's not. But I guess there's a lot of nuances to it, and somebody put in some wrong X, Y, Z factors, and then it start to print out weird in January. Well, we've got the aftermath now, so let's hope it just stabilizes. I hope so, because it really got me down last night, and I'm easy to get hooked down when it's something new and I don't feel that comfortable with. I don't feel like I've had a good track record with it, so I thought it was just me being rejected en masse. And so when you're new, you kind of think of those things because you still kind of wonder, what do people think of you? And you don't know that for sure they like you. Well, I hope you guys like me, and I like you real much, real much. Yeah, it's kind of love, I guess they call that. But at any rate, I think it's over, and let's just put that as behind us. And thank you for being with me every minute that you are. And as I've been finding out, you all who watch these videos that I've produced and stick with the content for the better part of the video. And I do run a little bit long because I have a lot to chat with you about, and I feel comfortable chatting with you about the things that are going on in all our lives now. So, it makes me feel better. I know the system and how it works. This is my career now, ever since my disability with the car and truck accident, when the guy plowed through me with his 60,000-pound Peterbilt truck running through the red light in, was it the 21st of September 08. I had hell to pay. The doctors were able to revive me and keep me going, but this is, it's real, but underneath there's some damage. So this is the perfect venue for me, and gives me a lot of time to watch the world and watch our society and how it's working and is it working. And in that regard, I guess YouTube and me were made in heaven. And Brad's seen the difference in me. He says, you look happier, and I am because I found some prints that I would have never had otherwise if it wasn't for reaching you through this venue. And I have so many mentors now that I feel so close to. Isn't that interesting? Across the country, across the oceans, you can be closer to someone than you really would have ever anticipated. And it's true. It's very true. Anyway, I touched on at one point in time, I think last month, that I came from a personal child abuse situation. The whole family was dysfunctional. I'll lay it out for you. My sister was born over 10 years earlier than I was. Carolyn, she was born in December. I was born in the end of March. So my mother used to say 10 and a half years, but it's 10 and a quarter years. My mother and father were almost married for 50 years. I don't know what happened the first 25 or 30 years, but I know that when I was aware of what was going on, it was hellacious. They had very little tolerance for each other, but they were Catholic, and Catholic people don't get divorced. They just thought it was, you just don't do that. You can get an annulment in the Catholic Church, but my mother said that would bring such shame to the family. The family really could care less, but yeah, back then I guess they did find that to be not something you want to air in front of your dear sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles and parents. So they fought vigorously. Favorite time was at the dinner table, which was the worst time, and they could have picked for me because I couldn't get away and I had to listen to it, and I had to watch throwing plates against the wall with gravy, mashed potatoes, roast beef, and chicken, or whatever else that my father lost his temper and threw against the wall to make my mother cry. I don't know what made him feel so angry towards her. I do think that sexually he wanted more than she gave. I can only say that because when I happened to drop in on their bedroom sometimes on the weekend and she was a sexual partner to him, he had a very male-dominating, pleased look on his face, kind of licking his chops and saying that was good. But I don't think that sex was something as comfortable for her, physically and mentally. I don't really feel she ever enjoyed that aspect. And I know that pretty well can say this. She died in 1990, but I thought of this a long time. She had very masculine female friends in the two locations where we lived that I remembered. We lived in New York City in my lifetime for the first 13 years. They were there 26 years. And then we moved to southern New Jersey, the Cherry Hill area, in 1970, and I knew more about that area. Unfortunately, they were more cranky then. And although I loved my new school and my environment, it was a non-Catholic school, which really made me feel good. The parents were still at it, and oh God, I can go on with stories about some particular incidents that were specifically hurtful and harmful for me to hear, and just kind of keep all this stuff in and make me feel afraid. And I grew to be very introverted, and I did do well in school, so nobody really needed to watch Paul. He was, dependable Paul. He did very well, and that after school he would do his gardening, and maybe go to a garden center, go to a field of plants growing. I always got caught up in horticulture, and it really did make me feel happy, and which was a good thing. It was like something I could take to the bank. But yeah, watching two adults scream at each other, throw things around at each other. It was famous for my father to throw Sunday New York Times wrapped up tightly at my mother's head because she wouldn't go to church. He would call her a disgusting heathen, and she said, "Walter, I can't feel anything out of the experience. It's just so you file in and then you file out again. It's such a large number of people that there's no emotional lift for me that I get out of these Catholic masses." And that was probably true, but you couldn't tell him that because that was not the thing you do. You went to church, you shook hands, and then you beat your wife up. And ultimately that's what my history was. And I wasn't about to bring into the mix there my knowledge that I was gay, because I kind of figured that would only be more ammunition that somebody was going to use against someone. I mean, my sister, she never asked me about that kind of thing, but she treated me as a misfit when she got married. She was 23 years old, but her husband was a ship captain for a Mobil Oil Company, and he came home maybe a couple of times a year, maybe after 4 months on the sea, and then she was purring like a kitten. But she did not like me at all because I didn't emulate him in his athleticism, and I was 10 years plus younger than her, still a kid and kind of acting like a kid, where she was just sick to be around me. I just didn't give her this stimuli of an adult male that she was looking for, and it made it very difficult. I guess we do have these situations where we have to just go through them and hope better comes along. My escape was 4 years of college, and then moving to the state of Alabama, where I got a good position with Morrison's Food Service. I worked in a hospital, and I became very friendly with my dietary department manager. He and I became like brothers, and he protected me from a lot of the hurt. Alabama was a good place for me to be because, in spite of what you think, Alabama is a very loving and giving and warm family kind of place, and I was adopted by many people in the North Alabama area, Huntsville, Decatur. I loved it very much, and that was about the best time of my life. I really did start to feel I was able to move around a little bit in the gay world and feel it was okay. I was admired. I was taken care of. Nobody tried to hurt me, and it made me a man. I grew up to be a happy person after the family experience. But thank God I had them, because I probably would have been pretty chronically depressed and needing therapy for my whole adulthood. But it didn't work out that way, and I became the man I wanted to be. Well, maybe I'm that for you too now. We all have had our issues. This is something that's pretty far back, so I can be objective. But I almost didn't make it, and I almost felt, it was not going to be a happy life for me. But you're here. I love you. Subscribe to the station.